Hi, and happy holidays. Welcome back to another special episode of the Panel Room. And so I am here again with some of my new favorite troublemakers and some not so new favorite troublemakers, as we're going to be talking tonight about some holiday movies, specifically around Christmas and New Year's. So as we're going to go in and take a look, I am your host this evening, Jim Nettles. But before we get started, I'm going to go around the room and let everybody introduce themselves. So Jenny, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, I'm Gini Koch. I write the Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series for Daw Books, and I write under 7 pen names and in all lengths and genres. And I have a few Christmas movies I love.
Lola?
My name's Lola Lariscy. I've written a lot of short stories and articles, and one book called True Limb Spaceship Captain Earth Detective. I've been writing my second book for a long time. And I love any kind of genre movie, just about.
Nancy?
I'm Nancy Northcott. I write historical fantasy for Falstaff Books, and I independently publish several types of romance and science fiction. And I'm a real sucker for Christmas movies, New Year's movies, so we'll see.
So yes, as we start to think about New Year's movies, we'll be coming back to that towards the end of the year. I mean, the end of the show. So we'll pick one or the other. So when we talk about things like Christmas movies specifically, and this time of year, you know, it's all the nice, warm, the fluffy, everything is all nice and happy until the spirits come out. So what is your favorite Christmas movie? Let's see. Lola, we're going to start with you.
Okay, now there's favorite and there's fun campiest.
We'll come back to campy. Trust me, we're going to hit campy.
Okay, then I would say my favorite Christmas movie is Gremlins. Because it's a cute movie. I love it. I was a kid when it came out and it scared me. And they're cute until they're not cute and it's Christmas.
And just to reiterate, Darren, anything that can be beaten by a ceiling fan cannot take out critters. I promise you. So, Nancy, what about you? What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Well, my all-time ever favorite Christmas movie is one that's almost never on TV anymore, and I don't get to see it because I don't own it. It's the original black and white, Maureen O'Hara, John Payne, Edmund Gwynn, Natalie Wood, no coloring, Miracle on 34th Street. I just love that movie. It's about the power of imagination, and that goes so perfectly with Christmas and everything it's about everything Santa Claus represents. And I just love it. It's my favorite.
Jenny?
My favorite is more recent, though I do love Miracle on 34th Street so much. The Man Who Invented Christmas. It's about Charles Dickens. I'm a huge Dickens fangirl. It's extremely accurate while also being extremely fun and interesting. And I say this all the time, and I'll stand by it forever. I've never seen a movie that so aptly captures what it's really like to be an author as that movie. Most of them show us just typing or writing, and that's not what it's like. And this shows so well. It was the first movie. I'm like nudging my husband in the theater going, that's exactly what it's like. That's exactly what it's like. And it's a really good movie. Dickens basically turned Christmas into a holiday. It was a minor holiday before A Christmas Carol. He self-published A Christmas Carol. And he also is directly influential in charitable giving. So he was a rock star, and this is just a fabulous movie. So I love it. I'm try to watch it every year. I try to watch it in the middle of the year too, because I love it that much.
Yeah, and I thought that being a writer was just like, The Shining. But anyway, and when I look at favorite Christmas movies, and I know this is going to shock everybody, of course, it's got to be one that's a little bit more difficult. I love Bad Santa. That has been our Christmas movie since it came out. And so I'm always a big fan of it, but it's a really good redemption story. You actually get to see the full arc and the full redemption and get that happy, the joy in seeing somebody find that real redemption. Now, the fact that they made a sequel to it, I could not sit through it, but that's neither here nor there. So it doesn't exist. But the original Bad Santa. Now, but going beyond that, what about more recent, more modern movies? You're talking about The Man Who Invented Christmas. That's pretty recent. One came out last year that we watched that I was actually really impressed with. It's called Jingle Jangle, Jingle Jangle. And it's a fun musical. They really kind of caught that energy and that old spirit like you haven't seen done in Christmas movies in a long while. So I was a big fan of that last year. We're already talking about watching it again this year. Is there something else more recent that you've seen that really kind of captures and brings you back to that feeling of Christmas you had when you were a kid? Because for me, seeing that story really was a fun movie. So Nancy, I know that's why I'm going to make you wait. So Nancy,
you're so mean. You're not Santa, you're Krampus, and I'm afraid of Krampus, so I haven't watched it.
I would be afraid of Krampus too. For our family, it's a Christmas story. There's just something about that 1930s era and the giant bulbs on the Christmas tree that now they're retro, but back then they were what you had. And the windows in the stores and just the family dynamic as they deal with all the parts of the run up to Christmas. We really love that one as a family. And, it's on like continuously on 2 different stations. So we have an opportunity to watch it. We try to pick it up at the beginning on one station and watch it to the end instead of the middle and wait till it gets around to that. But we could do the middle and wait till it gets around to it because we've seen it that much.
All right, Jenny, what about you?
And I've completely blanked because you made me wait. I've completely blanked on the titles, but it is the Santa movies with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. There's 2 of them. He's Santa, she's Mrs. Claus, and they are delightful. I approached them with a lot of trepidation, but they are absolutely delightful. They're movies I wish these are 2 and I think they're TV movies, but they're 2 movies that I wish I'd had growing up because
Christmas
they
Chronicles.
Yes, the Christmas Chronicles. So they're just wonderful and they're loving and they're not cloying. You think they're going to be cloying, but they're not. And I even like them more. I like the 3 Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen, but I like the Christmas Chronicles better. The Tim Allen ones can border on cloy, and I didn't find this, even though I really loved this, especially the first one. But this, I just really love them. I wish I could have grown up with the Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, though of course then they would have been children, but you know what I mean. So I love those. Highly, highly recommend.
What about you, Lola?
There's a newer movie that I saw, I guess last year. It was on one of the streaming services. I can't remember which one, but it's called Anna and the Apocalypse. It's like Glee with zombies. And the description is: a zombie apocalypse threatens the sleepy town of Little Haven at Christmas, forcing Anna and her friends to fight, slash, and sing their way to survival, facing the undead in a desperate race to reach their loved ones. But they soon discover that no one is safe in this new world. And with civilization falling apart around them, the only people they can truly rely on are each other. So they learned a lesson. They can rely on each other even when everything else is falling down around them. It's a cute movie. Singing, dancing. It's just really funny and cute. I liked it.
A musical? apocalyptic film for the holidays.
Zombies.
That
The
sounds
zombies.
exactly like what I'd play for a drinking game.
It is
So-
perfect. Hmm.
I want to kind of now play a little bit of the game of, Christmas movie or not. So I'm going to throw the easy one in the air just because I can start a fight with it. Die Hard.
Oh, it's
Yes.
totally a Christmas movie, 100%.
100%.
Die Hard 2 is as well. Both of them.
Yeah. If
Defend
there's
them
a
to death.
Christmas tree, it's a Christmas movie.
I agree.
Mhm.
Nancy?
I'll
I'm willing to recognize that viewpoint. For me, unless Christmas or New Year's or whatever holiday is at least a major part of the backdrop, it's not that for me. But, we all define what's a holiday movie for a particular holiday for ourselves. So if people feel that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, I'm not going to argue with them because it's whatever.
They're only where they are because it's Christmas. He has flown across the
Christmas
country
party.
because it's Christmas. She is at a Christmas party. No, they are short-staffed because it's Christmas time in the LAPD. All of it, the movie doesn't happen if it's not Christmas. There's no other legitimate reason for it to be going on and for all the things to be happening. And the same with Die Hard 2. They're flying again across the country for Christmas. So I'm going to defend those.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say it's not. For me, that's not sufficient. But if it is for somebody else, then, that's fine.
Okay.
And I noticed that Jim is sitting over there in his little corner and not wading into this at all.
I'm only here to watch the fight. I'm here to start the fight and then back away.
Uh-huh.
I'll start one. Red in particular. RED. That one's
Retired
absolutely
Extremely
a Christmas
Dangerous.
movie. Yeah, it starts at Christmas. It is also a Christmas movie. It starts at Christmas time.
I never
Yes.
saw those. I always meant to.
Oh, they're so good.
Movies.
But-
So good.
And Helen Mirren just totally kicks ass.
Oh my gosh!
So
Right?
cool.
Yes.
However,
I got to meet.
if you take Christmas if you took them to a different season, those movies do not fall apart. Therefore, not a Christmas film.
True. Maybe. I don't know. It starts with Christmas, and there's nothing better than watching Bruce Willis unwillingly put out his Christmas decorations to really, really put you in the spirit, at least me. So,
Well, John Malkovich and the Pig. I mean, you don't really.
I got to meet the screenwriters at
Okay.
Comic-Con, and one of the questions that my husband asked was, "Did you just take this directly from the comic? Did it kind of storyboard it?" They're like, "Oh no, it's a completely different medium. You have to look at it differently." And they said their starting point, Helen Mirren with an assault rifle.
Ooh.
And I'm like,
good.
"Oh my god, that's so good!" Right? So yeah. That was their start. That was their creative starting point. Helen Mirren with an assault rifle. So I don't think it gets more Christmassy than that.
Definitely not. That's a big present for me. Woo.
Exactly.
It was shiny, it was lit up, and she was dressed to kill.
Yes.
So, yeah, okay, I've been sitting on that one. All right. So, we're going to now stretch a little bit further over into some Tim Burton land.
Uh-oh.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas is an easy one. That's a fun holiday film that covers everything from, of course,
Mhm.
Halloween all the way through to the holidays. But I'm going to throw another one on the table. Edward Scissorhands.
Definitely.
It's got the
Definitely.
snowiness. I could see it.
He creates snow for Christmas every year. That's the end beat. So yeah, I would say it's definitely a Christmas movie. I mean, it's an all year movie, but doesn't she find him right before Christmas? The mom, Diane Weiss, doesn't she find him right before Christmas, basically?
And a big part of it is the Christmas celebration and bringing him in. So
Yeah.
come on, Nancy.
I haven't seen it. I can't say.
Oh,
I haven't seen it in a long time. Oh my goodness.
The only thing I know about Nightmare Before Christmas is my son used to play Kingdom Hearts when he was younger. Probably if he ever finds out about this, going to go, "You told people that." But yes, and so I know the characters from hearing him talk about him in Kingdom Hearts, but I haven't actually seen either movie. So
You need to see Nightmare Before Christmas. It is sweet. It is wonderful. Let me put it this way. Our daughter was in 3 when Lion King came out, and we tried 3 times. She could not make it past the hyenas as Nazis scene. So only a couple months later does Nightmare Before Christmas come out, and my husband is really worried about taking her. I'm like, then we'll walk out of the theater like we did before. She was enraptured. She was at the edge of her seat, enraptured the whole time. There is the only scary character in there that's really scary is Oogie Boogie, and he's supposed to be because he's the villain. But everything else, this is just sweet. The only argument I have against it is that the bottom line message is stay in your lane, do what you're good at, but it's not done in a negative way. Jack's been inspired by his trip to the Christmas side, and he's got new ideas. It's really more, the focus is more about rejuvenating your creative spirit and realizing that just because this is the thing you're good at, it doesn't mean it's not good for you to be good at it. So it's really a very sweet, very loving film. So I can't recommend that one highly enough. You really, really should see it. Edward Scissorhands, maybe, it was a very early Tim Burton, Johnny Depp Muse collaboration. And it's really good. The biggest shock to me in that whole movie, though, was the realization that Anthony Michael Hall was really a young teenage kid when he was filming all those Brat Pack movies, because that's the movie where you see that he's grown up, boom, and he's the football player. And I'm like, there's no way that's Anthony Michael Hall, right? He didn't even look like himself. So that the shock value, the unintentional shock value on that was worth it. But if you're choosing between the two, absolutely Nightmare Before Christmas is just totally worth it.
Okay, thanks.
All right, before we wrap up Tim Burton, I got to throw, a duology out there. Is Batman and Batman Returns Christmas movies or not?
Well, prior to the start of recording, you kind of made the case that they are, so it's hard to argue. You cheated and primed us for this. But Batman Returns, yes, definitely. It's all happening around Christmas. Christmas is a big part of it. I don't know. I feel like the parade was the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, not so much a Christmas parade. So in Batman, so I'm not sold on Batman, but Batman Returns, yeah, I'm sold. That's a Christmas movie.
Are you?
Okay.
Sorry, didn't
Nancy? No, go for it, Nancy.
Well, I have a real bias against that film just in general, because it's so grotesque. And I kind of want a Christmas movie to be more fun and feel good than that movie really is. I mean, I totally take your point about it all happens around Christmas. And so it is a Christmas themed movie, but the whole raw fish thing is just, no, thank you. So, I mean, for me, it's not a Christmas movie because it doesn't generate the vibe that I like out of a Christmas movie. But I see your point. Sorry, Lola.
That's okay. I don't remember. I haven't seen those movies in so long. I can't even gather up a clue at all.
All right. So what's the Christmas films that you love and you would argue, other than the ones we've already hit on, that everybody would argue and say, that's not a Christmas movie?
Well, the ones we've already talked about or different ones?
Beyond the ones we've already talked about.
Reindeer Games. I get argument. It's set all at Christmas. It's very Christmas driven. They're wearing Santa suits for the heist. And it's very twisty. It's a really good script, and it does have a heartwarming ending. So to me, it hits all the Christmas notes, even though it is about ex-cons and robberies and quadruple crosses.
And you get to see Gina Davis become a badass.
No, that is Long Kiss
Oh,
Goodnight.
that's right. That was Long Kiss Goodnight, not Reindeer Games. I'm screwed.
Reindeer
I'm
Games
messing
is
up.
Ben Affleck. Ben
That's
Affleck and
right.
Charlize Theron. Yeah, and Gary Sinise.
Sure.
But yeah, I could argue for Long Kiss Goodnight.
I always flip
That
those two.
lots going on because of that. I don't know how. They're so distinctly different. They're both great, but they're so I love both of these movies, but they're both distinctly different. Home Alone hasn't gotten its shout out that it deserves, I think.
Yeah.
It is. You know what? The last quarter of the movie is slapstick, which I don't particularly like. So I'm not really wild about the last quarter. But the first 3 quarters of that movie, many, many moons ago, back in my agency days, our creative director and I were talking about it. And he said, this movie is actually has an incredibly strong message that I feel like nobody's picking up on. And one is that your mother will do anything to get back to you. 2 is that when you're in trouble, run to the church. And 3 is that just because someone looks old and creepy, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. And they just may be lonely. And that person may be the person that saves you. So I really like I watched the first 3 quarters of the movie, and I'm really, it tugs on all the right little heartstrings there. And then, the slapstick comes and whatever. But everything that's happening with Catherine O'Hara and her desperation to get back to the child they have, truly, and it makes the case. You understand why they've forgotten him. And you understand why he's freaked out too, because he's made a wish before he goes to sleep that he won't have any family. He wakes up and he doesn't have any family. So I think it's a better movie than it gets credit for. I realize it was a huge blockbuster, and I'm with my old creative director. I think it was a blockbuster because of the slapstick at the end. But realistically, I really think it's a good Christmas movie. I know I'm alone in that. Very, very small number of us, but I think it's actually very heartwarming movie.
All right, Lola, what about you? What's your Christmas movie that everybody says is not?
Well, am I the last one, or can we come back to me?
Well, there's Nancy. We can loop back.
All right, come back to me.
Okay. I don't really have a movie that I think is a Christmas movie, and most people don't. But as we've been sitting here talking about it has occurred to me that one of my favorite Christmas movies, and everybody thinks it's sappy and everybody thinks it's stupid, and they're entitled to their opinion, but Jimmy Stewart is one of our greatest American actors ever. And It's a Wonderful Life is a wonderful movie. It just, people get tired of it because for a while there, it was on every Christmas, and it's not in color. It's in black and white, and it's old timey, and a lot of people don't like that. But you could argue that aside from the part at the very end where the little girl says to her dad, every time a bell rings on a Christmas tree, an angel gets his wings, that's really the only part that's critical Christmas in that movie. The rest of the movie is about the difference one person's life can make. And so even though it is a Christmas movie, and I'm kind of twisting your question on its head, you could argue that it's really not, because the bell on the Christmas tree, yeah, that's nice, and we associate angels with Christmas and so forth, but that could have been anything. That could have been, the wind making a tinkling noise in the branches or something like that. But everybody shows it at Christmas because it's got so much heart, and you've got this somewhat cantankerous angel trying to get his wings. So I love that movie, and Bert and Ernie, the cop and the taxi driver, Bert and Ernie, live on Sesame Street. So what's not to like?
And I actually was going to make the argument that's almost more of a New Year's movie than a Christmas movie, because it's about that view of what things can be with the turn of the new year. Even though it's really, you get to that piece at the end. I almost argue most of the time that that's more of a New Year's movie, but that's just my weird sense of humor.
Well, you could look at it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's been 1,000,001 remakes. That story gets retold, and they are not always told at Christmas time. The setting is not always a Christmas reflection setting. So,
yeah, I have a real bias against remakes because I tend to. with fandom, with everything, I tend to glom onto the first thing that I fall in love with. And so for me, Star Trek is always going to be the original series. Superman is always going to be Christopher Reeve, although I did watch reruns of the George Reeves show as a child. And so the first It's a Wonderful Life I saw was Jimmy Stewart. The first Miracle on 34th Street was Maureen O'Hara and John Payne. And so people need to stop mucking with my movie. I'm sorry, but they just need to cut that out. Just had to get
you still get your movie. It's just somebody else gets their movie. That's the remake. And sometimes, occasionally a remake can be better. Ocean's 11.
Yeah,
so much better than the original.
In place of my movie, and I don't get to see my movie. So,
but the original Ocean's 11 would be a Christmas movie.
Yes, it would, and it's awful. Please don't see it. Run in the opposite direction. Run. Oh, it's so awful, so bad.
All right, Lola, what have you figured out?
There was one that I thought was Christmas. It's a winter movie, and in my head, it's Christmas because there's snow. It's called Let Me In. It's the American version of the.
Let the right one
Let
in.
the right one in.
Yeah.
Right one
Oh my God, that's so creepy. It just makes my spine tingle, and I love it. And there's snow. There's so much snow that I think of it as Christmas, but I don't think it is because something I was reading said March, and it was released like in February, and I'm like, boo! They just totally took the wind out of my sails. But anyways, we're gonna put a red bow on it and call it a Christmas movie.
I love your choices. I love your choices.
Thank
Post-apocalyptic and vampires.
And creepy vampires, vampire children.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Thank you.
I have one that bridges Christmas to New Year's.
All right.
So when we're there,
hold on to that.
Okay, I'll hold on to it. Okay.
So what's your campy favorite?
Go Lola, go, because I heard you say that one.
There's one I actually watched twice because I loved it so much. Okay, it's one of those sci-fi movies. On Saturday nights they play sci-fi movies that campy. They're not. They're straight to TV. But this one is called Christmas Ice Catastrophe, and it has some awesome actors. Hold on, I have a spreadsheet. Where did I put my spreadsheet? Where'd it go? All right. So from Continuum, it has Victor Weber, who played the police officer, the detective in Continuum, and Jennifer Spence, who played the IT girl, and Richard Harmon, who played the young kid who was kind of a ne'er-do-well. So three actors from Continuum is in this movie. And I could stare at Victor Webster just stand there with his jaw. I mean, I just love that man so much. So I've watched it twice. And, it's about they're in a town and there's an ice catastrophe and there's snow everywhere and they have to survive. But it was really good and I love it. And it's Christmas Ice Catastrophe. And you can watch it for free on IMDb.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of campy.
Well, I don't know,
Nancy. Oh,
I don't know that this movie is really campy. It's just kind of over the top. It's Jingle All the Way.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the hot toy of Christmas. And Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger are running all over town trying to get this hot superhero toy for their kid. And poor Robert Conrad is a motorcycle officer, and they keep running into him, and disastrous things keep happening to him because they run into him. And it is kind of over the top. I wouldn't say it goes quite as far as campy. And I think it was one of Phil Hartman's last movies. Mm. And he's the neighbor who's kind of perving on Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife, Rita Wilson. And there's a thing with a reindeer, and the reindeer gets loose, and somebody thought it'd be a good idea to have a reindeer for Christmas. So it's kind of ridiculous and it's kind of over the top. I don't think it really qualifies as campy, but I always enjoy it because, hey, superhero toy.
All right, Jenny.
Office Christmas Party. I had to look it up. And you know what? It was actually sweet. I'm going to defend it. It's very much over the top. It's very funny. And there's a really strong beating heart in that whole thing. It's got, scatological humor as well as everything else, and so I would definitely say it's one of the campy over the top ones, but it was really good. I thought there's that sweetness, that the thing that Nancy's talking about, that, if it doesn't have it doesn't feel like a Christmas movie. This movie has that.
I forgot about that one. I was there as you were talking about. I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I think I watched it at like 2 a.m. because
I saw that at a premiere. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were serious about it.
No, I was. No. I was still in Phoenix, and I was doing a lot of movie premieres for a couple of media outlets I reviewed for.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw another film out here. I want to see what everybody's take is on it, because I know I'm usually the one that's like, no. Elf with Will Ferrell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that my out loud voice? The only good part of that is Peter Dinklage and Bob Newhart. But I really don't like Will Ferrell. I mean, it's a cute movie, and it's not on our rotation. Let me put it that way.
Not on ours either. Will Ferrell is very good at what he does. It's just not my thing.
I can take him in a supporting role, but if he's got to carry the movie, it's an exercise in 2 hours of me wanting to throat punch the leading man.
All right, Lola.
It's a little too cute. I've never watched the whole thing. I'm like, okay, so he's a human, he's tall, he's with all the elves, and now he's going back to Earth. Wait, what? I'm like, I don't really get the point. Okay.
I couldn't do it. I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan, admittedly, but I could not do it. I've tried. I have so many friends that love it.
I made it through.
I can't make it through. I was just like, nope, this is pure saccharine.
I made it through once, and there's not enough. Well, this is pretty much my statement from any movie he's in. There's not enough Peter Dinklage in the movie, nor is there enough Bob Newhart in the movie to make it worth ever rewatching. But yeah, if you like watching Idiot Man-Child, that's the movie for you. So.
Yeah, if I want to see that, I'm going to see whatever I'm up to. I mean, that's really all I need to do.
Right. Just
no, you're way smarter. You can't pull up Idiot Man-Child. Okay, I'm sorry. That's not fitting.
All right. So as we're talking about Christmas movies, very specifically, what are the things for you that really make something a Christmas movie or a Christmas story? That thing that if you don't have these elements, it's just not going to work for you. So Nancy, I'm going to tap you for that one first.
Well, for me, Christmas has to be pervasive. I mean, I was talking about this with another writer a couple of months ago. And in any kind of a holiday story, the holiday can be a backdrop for the story, or something about the holiday can be a goad in the story. The characters can react to that, and it can help to move the plot along. So I'm happy with either one of those things, but it has to have a really happy ending. There can't be any loose ends. There can't be any lingering resentments and quarrels at the end of it. And usually I'm okay with those in a movie. I like my movies to have the good guys win at the end, but I don't care about everything being moonlight and roses, or in this case, elf sprinkles and sugar cookies. But for a Christmas movie, that's what I want it to have.
She just described Die Hard. Okay, shut up.
Exactly. Good guy wins. Spoiler.
All right.
Yes. Nothing, no loose ends. Yeah.
No
right,
dangling ends. Dangling.
Wrong. That's the wrong film genre.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Dangling. Sorry. I had to.
So what about it, Lola? What is it for you? What are the things that really mean Christmas movie for you?
Well, Like I said,
Snow, we know.
yeah, snow. I like tinsel and Christmas trees and Christmas lights and family coming over, even though I don't have much family. Just the warm fuzziness of it. And if there are chainsaws and vampires, makes it better.
All right, Jenny.
The snow.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, my main requirement for visual entertainment is good-looking leading man, and that doesn't really go away, even if it's a Christmas movie. I don't have the same requirements. I have a much wider view of what works. Obviously, I mean, I'm sitting here defending Reindeer Games and Die Hard and Red as Christmas movies, all the way over to Home Alone and A Christmas Story and all this other stuff. So, I guess for me, it's more backdrop. I don't care if I'm in the mood for, a perfect Christmassy feeling movie, well, then that is something like Miracle on 34th Street or, A Christmas Story, things like that. But if I just want, it's like, I want it to be in the season, but it needs to be a little bit more. And then I'm going to watch Reindeer Games or something like that. So I don't have I'm more, I think about it as a backdrop versus let's all, watch everybody, get up to the presence moment. And I would watch Reindeer Games, Die Hard, or Red many multiple times more than A Christmas Story, even though I think it's a really good movie. So some action in there is probably good. It's probably why I like the Christmas Chronicles, because there's action and adventure in it, and Kurt Russell. So
I always like the factor of holiday movies that bring in that idea of seeing family, seeing a bit of how the conflict works, because you always have to have that, but it's still, at the end of it, it still has to bring it all together and still make people remember, whether they're by blood or by found family, why they want to spend that time together, or sometimes not. I mean, that's really the thing I want to see. And I mean, pretty much all the films we've talked about in some way, shape, or form, except I think for Batman, have done a good job of doing that. So before we dive over into New Year's films, what's the one guilty pleasure Christmas movie you have to watch every year? Like, we've not talked about the quintessential Griswolds. They are the quintessential Christmas Story family. You got to watch every year. So
I don't.
Yes, but I'm trying to be in competition about the lights. That's just me. I want to blind satellites.
Well, there's Christmas the Cranks if you want that too. Yeah, guilty pleasure.
So Jenny,
guilt. I don't do guilt. I really
good
don't.
Answer.
I really don't. There's nothing I watch that I'm ashamed of. I'm trying to think of something that I'm holding my one for. That's the bridge between Christmas and New Year's. And I'm not guilty about that at all. And I've never seen the Star Wars holiday special.
I didn't even bring it up this time. I didn't even bring it up this time. I did.
Thinking about it. I don't have a guilty pleasure. It's more of gosh, maybe it'd be nice to watch The Grinch this year versus something else. I don't have anything that I wouldn't that I haven't already been talking about and defending to my knowledge. I mean, I'm sure I've forgotten a bunch of movies that we watch, but there's nothing I feel guilt about enjoying.
Lola?
Well, I'll say not just one movie, but a whole host of movies. I watch all the Hallmark movies and mysteries and Lifetime Christmas movies. I've already got a pile on my DVR, and it's at like 90-something%. I watch them all. So some are great, some are good. There's one, oh my God, it was so good. It was on the other night, called One Night in December. It had Bruce Campbell and Peter Gallagher, And they played an aging Simon and Garfunkel type duo, but they had a big falling out 10 years before because one's a raging alcoholic. And their kids are trying to spearhead a concert because the one who is drunk off his ass all the time, he remortgages his house and he's going to lose his house if they don't. So, of course, you know, one kid is a young lady. The other kid is a young male from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Brett Dalton. And, you know, they grew up together, but I guess all it took was one magical December and they realized they loved each other. But I really liked it because it wasn't just the love story. It was, you know, the story with the two men who they went through so much and they're trying to get their lives back on track. And it had really great music and a really great title sequence at the beginning because it had them, they must have did some CGI or used old pictures because they made them look, you know, like they were more like in their 20s. And the album covers kind of like Simon and Garfunkel, you know, the old album covers, just really good. So I will sing the praises of some of the movies, not all of them, but, you know, it's worth sifting through all the chaff to get the really good ones.
All right, Nancy, what about you?
Well, I like to watch, no surprise to everybody at this point, I'm sure, the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas, narrated by Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not any kind of a guilty pleasure, though, because it was a classic for so many years and arguably still is. But there's one movie that I really enjoy, and this is probably one that a lot of people would say it's not a Christmas movie. And it's about a boy, which stars Grant, Nicholas
Holt.
No.
Holt.
Yes, Holt.
Yeah.
He plays
yeah,
boy in X-Men.
I love that movie.
Now he's grown up. He
Yeah.
changed a bit. But I think I like it because it's not Hugh Grant's usual suave kind of debonair know-it-all. Nor is it his cute klutz. This character is different. He's a man whose deceased father wrote a hit Christmas song. He lives off the royalties. He can't stand the song. And so every year when the song is playing everywhere, it just makes him crazy. And Nicholas Holt's character just kind of adopts him because this child is lonely and he's being picked on. And so they both have a really big growth arc in that. And Hugh Grant's character does some stuff that you just want to smack, like on NCIS when Mark Harmon goes on the back of somebody.
Yeah.
You just want to do that a lot watching that movie. But Toni Collette plays the boy's mother, and she's really good. And it's just a movie with a lot of heart. And I do believe there is a Christmas scene at the end of it. And it kind of shows you how much Hugh Grant has changed because he's a loner and he's kind of a dog, frankly, in his approach to women up until the end of the movie when he tries a stunt using Nicholas Holt to try to help him get girls. And boy, that backfires big time. But it does kind of have a Christmas movie and it has a very Christmas thematic ending. So it could also qualify as a guilty pleasure because you really do just want to smack Hugh Grant a whole lot through the movie.
But I think he grows, you know.
It does.
Well, I mean, if you're going to put, you know, if you're using the kid to get, you know, to meet the ladies and you've got him on a leash, I mean, that's probably not going to fly real well.
Well, he gets caught out.
Can we mention, Yeah, I was going to say, can we mention the Christmas movie we loathe? Because there's one I really hate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Love Actually. That piece of garbage. I cannot believe people like that. I found it utterly saccharine, utterly devoid of anything resembling real human feeling, and yet people love it. I can't stand it. I've watched it once. I'll never watch it again. I'd watch Elf again before I'd watch Love Actually again. And Love Actually has good-looking leading men in it beyond Peter Dinklage. So it's had more going for him. It does have Hugh Grant. It does have Alan Rickman.
What's his name?
It has Alan Rickman. But that's not enough. Even Alan Rickman cannot save that movie.
Yeah. Well, it has so many different stories. Me?
Yep. Since you've been shattered by something I have to agree with. But anyway.
Well, I don't have one that I hate that I can think of, but if I could, I'll just say a little bit about Love Actually. It has like 5 different stories. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, I mean, it's almost like 5 different movies put together. So you kind of have to sit there and look at your watch while you go through the scenes
I hated them all.
like. Yeah, I liked the only one that I don't know. Yeah, I was upset about the Alan Rickman one because who would be so mean to Emma Thompson? How dare he do that to Emma Thompson? I'm still upset about it. Okay, you can go to the next person.
Nancy?
I don't really have a Christmas movie I hate because I tend not to like spoofy humor Christmas movies. I mean, a lot of people do, and that's fine, but they're just not for me. And so I don't watch them. And so I suspect from what I've heard about Elf this evening, it would probably qualify. But since to avoid, in general, movies that I don't think I'm going to like, particularly Christmas movies, I got nothing. Sorry.
I hate A Christmas Story.
Do you really?
I do. I'm putting on my Grinch hat. I cannot stand A Christmas Story. My sister loves it, puts it on for 24 hours, and
I wouldn't do that now. Once every 5 years is okay with me.
I don't know why that movie annoys me like it does. But so let's move on into, after all the warm feelings and the family reconciliations, and everybody's had, all the good and fun stuff. Let's talk about New Year's. So
I got my transition movie. You have to let me do my transition movie.
I'm coming to you right now to talk about your transition movie.
Bachelor Mother. And this is an oldie. Thank you, Turner Classic Movies. It stars, oh my God, why am I blanking on her name? Ginger Rogers and David Niven. And it is delightful. It starts literally the day before Christmas and ends literally on New Year's Day. It is completely, and it is driven by the fact that it is the holiday season. She's a temp worker for a company that you might as well just call it Macy's, even though it's using a different name. And she's been given her notice. She goes out on lunch to try to find some personal ads, sees a woman put a foundling on the steps of the orphanage, is worried the baby's going to roll off the steps, picks it up, and that's when the door opens and everybody decides that's her baby. And hijinks, romance, dancing, and some really heartwarming stuff ensues. I love this movie. This is like, I watched the first time we saw it, I was like, this is now one of my favorite movies of all time. And Nancy, if you haven't seen it, I think you will love it. It hits every note right. Nothing feels fake. Nothing feels cloying. It's just Ginger Rogers and David Niven at the height of their youth and beauty and their skills, and it's just so good. And it's to me, I love this movie. I can watch it year round, but I like to watch it at Christmas, and I like to watch it on New Year's because that way I get it twice and it bridges both. So Bachelor Mother, yes, it's only in black and white. Yes, it is actually available on DVD, and I own a copy. Heartily recommend it.
So now that we've bridged from Christmas to New Year's, what is it you want to see in a New Year's film? Because, I mean, if we look, we already talked a little bit about things like Ocean's 11. There's a lot of disaster movies set around New Year's. There's a lot of heist movies set around New Year's. Of course, there's a lot of them that are the party movies as well. What is it you want to see in a New Year's movie? So, Nancy, I'll go to you first.
A hopeful ending. Because when we turn that last calendar page of the year, it's a fresh start. It's a chance to leave behind all the things that haven't been great in the year before and start anew. And so I really want a New Year's movie to end on that note. I mean, when I was looking up movies to prepare for today, it said Poseidon Adventure was a New Year's movie. And
I guess it is. Mm-hmm. I guess it is.
All of the different versions of the Poseidon Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
said
flips
New
over
Year's.
on New Year's Eve. Yeah.
And Maureen McGovern, There's Got to Be a Morning After. I mean, that's a very hopeful song. So that's the main thing for me, is that a New Year's movie has to end on a high note of a fresh chance and a new start and hope for the future.
Lola?
I hope there are parties, like a big party scene. Everyone's in, cute dresses and everything. Maybe they're on a rooftop and you can see the skyline of like New York or something. And you can tell the air is crisp and everyone's just sighing relief because the new year is coming and everything's going to be great.
Jenny?
I agree with all of that. Literally gun to head, other than yay, the Poseidon Adventures, a New Year's movie. I'm saved, right? I can't even think, other than Bachelor Mother, which again carries through. I can't think of a New Year's movie I've watched. That's not to say that the minute you say a bunch, I won't go, oh yeah, I've seen that. Oh yeah, I've seen that. But clearly It's New Year's did not register to me in the same way that, the Christmas backdrop in Die Hard Christmas is more than a backdrop in Die Hard, but the Christmas backdrop in Red to me makes it a Christmas movie. And I'm like, I can't think of anything for a New Year's movie. And I don't know why. I agree with what both Nancy and Lola said, though. If I'm going to describe one, I want it to be hopeful. I want to see the party. I want, everybody needs to be living that glamorous life we all think we're going to do, and most of us never do. The rooftop party, beautiful coats, beautiful gowns, everybody's dressed up. Big party, and yay, it's the new year, everything's wonderful. I'd like to see kisses between the couples you want to get together, you want to be together. But I can't even think of one beyond Bachelor Mother and the Poseidon Adventure, right? That actually have it. I think Love Actually as New Year's in there too. I can't. I'm like this total blank page of. Are there movies about New Year's? Are there really?
So I'm going to throw a few of them out there just because I can.
Yay.
Somebody left me in charge. There's no adults in the room. So here's the first one. Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
do we acknowledge Ghostbusters 2? I guess
that's the reason I started there, was to see the pink slime. That defines New Year's.
God. If you say so, but
all right.
Yeah.
Another classic film that has a lot of those elements in it. Is going to be one, Trading Places.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't even think about that.
Yes. Honestly, that is like a full holiday, because doesn't it starts right around Thanksgiving and goes into Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, I love that movie. See, I told you were going to name these. I'm going to go. Yeah, and that is hugely the New Year's scene is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day scenes are huge. So yeah, great movie too. Love it.
Let's see, what else do I want to see here? Of course, we've already talked about one of the ones I was going to throw on my list a whole lot, which is Poseidon Adventure. All the different versions of them. And every time I watch the ship start to roll, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, that's one way to turn over a new leaf. And that's the reason.
It's definitely a break,
It's definitely going to change everybody's lives.
That's for sure. Never look back. Look forward.
What about looking at, there's a lot of films that revolve around that drama of the new year. So in other words, that idea of it's New Year's Eve, I'm looking forward, just get me through to tomorrow, get me to New Year's Day. I'll ignore the hangover and get me to the second, but that idea of all the drama and stuff that get packed into, can I get through to the new year? So there's a couple of them out there that I always like to go back to that are kind of interesting, that have a lot of those elements. Boogie Nights. Because that New Year's change is when that New Year's is when you actually see a lot of the pivot and everything go to hell in a handbasket. I can see that look from Nancy going, I've never seen it.
I haven't seen it in so long, I don't remember.
I haven't seen it either, but I have one that we may have all seen that, as I'm thinking about it, Kramer versus Kramer.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't there a gigantic pivotal scene where Dustin Hoffman's character literally crashes a Christmas party or New Year's Eve party? And it's like, you have to give me this job. And it's like, he has to be employed because of the new year. His wife's trying to get their kid back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one.
I've got one.
Okay.
It's another About movie. It's called About Time. And I love this movie. And it has Bill Nye, and his son is Dominic. I forgot his name, but he's one of those redheaded British actors. Anyways, so on New Year's, he tells his son that there's a family ability in the male line where they can go back in time. So he realizes that he can go back in time and try to win the woman he loves. So the tie is it happens on New Year's Day. So, but he keeps going back. It's about time because he keeps going back in time and trying to make things right, try to get it exactly the way he wants. It's a great movie. I loved it.
Well, Sleepless in Seattle is kind of the quintessential New Year's movie.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I never think of it as a New Year's movie. You're right.
I've forgotten it was.
Yeah, I never think of it like that.
Well, see, I don't think it's been years since I've seen it, but I don't think very much of the movie, other than the very, very end, has anything to do with New Year's.
That's the closing. That's the big closing and change. Both While You Were Sleeping and When Harry Met Sally, both of those which are very tied.
They're both Meg Ryan, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. While You Were Sleeping, Sandra Bullock.
You're right.
Oh, I was thinking what we were talking about before.
Yes. Because While You Were Sleeping is the one with Sandra Bullock, where she is sitting at the guy who doesn't even really know she exists, but she's sitting there by his side for all of that time. But if you look and if you look at When Harry Met Sally was kind of the will they, won't they pursuit going all the way through. And you look at things like Sleepless in Seattle, which was basically rinse and repeat. But the other story I do like was While You Were Sleeping. And While You Were Sleeping was a lot of that. With Sandra Bullock sitting there next to his bed, going through the whole thing, and you're waiting to see what is driving that almost obsession and that big change for me. But you've got the big scene there for New Year's. So I'm going to throw, since we started talking about the quintessential writer's film for me earlier, also keep in mind, The Shining is a New Year's movie.
I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I know it's the winter season.
But a lot of that happens through New Year's.
I've forgotten about that.
I'm sticking with Man Who Invented Christmas. Okay, I'm just going to say if it's a choice between those two, The Man Who Invented Christmas is. I just don't. I didn't like The Shining.
I love The Shining, but it just creeps me out. Oh.
All right, I'm going to throw one more out there that may be a little bit more obscure. Who remembers Strange Days, the movie?
That sounds familiar.
I remember it, but I don't think I ever saw it.
It's entirely set in. It was one of the early kind of cyberpunk films that was set, supposed to be in 1999. The idea of
future.
Yeah.
So much cooler than we actually were.
I know. They're so disappointed when it actually comes around. You're like,
party like it's 1999, steal a memory or two. Yeah. All things are golden. Because when I look at lists of New Year's type films, it's amazing because it's about a 50-50 between disaster and love and hope.
I like the disaster. I don't know why. I just do.
So, as we're approaching the end here of 2021, let's go with the idea that the coin toss for next year is going to be all about hope. So any more holiday movies, Christmas, New Year's, anything anybody else wants to throw out there?
I think we got it.
I think we covered all of mine. Nancy might have more. She's much more the Christmas traditionalist of the group.
Yeah.
Well, I am, but I tend to watch the same movies over and over again at Christmas. Something has to be really appealing for me to step out of my little box and go watch it.
Have you seen The Man Who Invented Christmas? Have you watched that?
But on a plane, and I remember liking it. There's a man who used to go around doing presentations on Dickens and Christmas. And we saw one of those, and that was his thesis. The point of the whole presentation was that Dickens kind of invented Christmas as we currently celebrate it.
Yeah. Well, if you have, it's better when, it's not being stopped for, now we have turbulence. So yeah, right. I recommend it in, like, sit down with the family and watch it, and definitely Nightmare Before Christmas. I really think, because, like, the traditional Christmas movies you're mentioning is traditional. I love too. I love, Miracle on 34th Street. Honestly, up until Man Who Invented Christmas and me seeing Bachelor Mother, that would have been my choice of best Christmas movies. So I really think you should try those, and try Bachelor Mother, because I think you'll really like it.
Okay. That sounds good.
Well, before we all go run off to watch Scrooged, let's go around the room.
Yeah, let's not forget those, right?
I liked that. Okay, I like Scrooge.
I like all the iterations of A Christmas Carol, however you're going to do it.
So before we all go run off, let's make it the way around the room and let everybody know where to find you. Website, social media, all that kind of good stuff. So, Ginny, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. My website is www.ginnykoch.com. I'm on Facebook, probably a lot more than I should be. I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Pinterest. It looks like I'm on Instagram, but it's a lie. And you can find me pretty easily through my website and anywhere else.
Lola?
My website is LolaLariscy.com, and I spend most of my time on either Facebook or Twitter. Twitter, I tweet during Hallmark movies and some sci-fi shows, and Facebook, I just post cat pictures. So that's my life in a nutshell.
Nancy?
You can find me, more information about my books on nancynorthcott.com, which is my website. I spend more time on Twitter than is probably healthy, where I'm at Nancy Northcott. I do actually have an Instagram page. I don't remember my username. But if you search my actual name, I think it will come up, because I'm really just getting into Instagram and figuring it out. And of course, when you put your first name and your last initial, and both of those are common, then there's a number that comes after that, and I don't remember what the number is, but I'm there.
Okay.
And of course, I've had the pleasure of being your host this evening, Jim Nettles. You can find me at jamespnettles.com, authoressentials.net, authoressentialsworkshops.com. Of course, here at ConTinual, I do show up on Facebook, the Hive of Scum and Villainy that is Twitter, occasionally on Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere else I have an opportunity to stir up a little trouble. But until next time, we want to tell everybody happy holidays, and thanks for coming and hanging out with us. We'll see you soon.